Welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast with your hosts, Joshua Poniatowski and Alex Taylor. Let's talk football.
Hello, and welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast. My name is Joshua Poniatowski, and with me, Alex Taylor.
What up, what up?
Week 9, officially over and done with. There is a flurry of trades happening right now. Literally, as we speak, the NFL is going crazy. Yeah, 90% from the Jets. We're going to talk about Week 9 recap, some talking points, things that you need to know to steal your championship. As a reminder, don't forget JSN jersey giveaway. Like, subscribe, comment, and you're entered, and we're giving that jersey away at the end of the year, signed jersey. But, you know, we like to have some fun. Alex has another game queued up for us. What do you got for us, Alex? What's the game? All right, well, what do I got to do? All
right, well, before I get into that, I would like to go ahead and wish a very happy birthday to the number one ranked fantasy football podcaster who graduated from UCF, lives in Ormond Beach, and is named Josh. Happy birthday, Josh. Happy birthday.
Appreciate that. Yes.
Okay, now let's dive in. So for the game, super easy. I mean, it's kind of like a true or false kind of statement. I'm going to give you it's kind of stat-based, and then you just got to tell me if this is a real stat or just kind of made up. First up, Nick Chubb has a higher yards per carry this season than Josh Jacobs.
False.
It is true. Nick Chubb has 3.9 yards per carry. Josh Jacobs only has 3.8.
Okay. All right. Well, he's living on opportunity, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right.
Next up, Justin Herbert has more rushing yards this season than Rachaad White.
I'm going to say it's true.
It is true. Herbert actually leads the league in rushing for quarterbacks. He's got 305 on the season.
He's leading the league?
Leading quarterback rushing yards.
The only reason I guess that was because I've watched so many of their games, and he is scrambling fairly consistently and, you know, for long runs too. So, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
He's got 305 on the year. White's only at 287. Okay, next up. In the last three games, Wan'Dale Robinson has more receptions than Rashee Rice.
Yes. True.
False.
Is that true?
Wan'Dale has 18, Rice has 20.
Okay. I knew Wan'Dale was a PPR machine, which is why I was leaning true. I know Rice 18, has been crushing
18 and 20,
it.
You know,
I was like, all right, cheat code PPR, you know, maybe that's there. So, all
right. On the season, Brian Thomas Jr. has a higher team target share than Keenan Allen.
Okay, so I'm trying to think. I've looked at a lot of data on BTJ and Keenan Allen. I'm trying to. It's got to be close. I'm going to say yes. BTJ on the season has a higher team target share.
It is false. It is close though. BTJ is at 21.2. Keenan Allen's at 23.4.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. I knew they were both floating in the 20s. I was actually just looking at the Chargers today and yesterday. Team target share, first read, all that good stuff. So, yeah.
What's crazy about the Chargers is that Keenan Allen's really high, but also McConkey is also really high. They were both in like the top 15 for target share on the same team. I'm like, what's going on here? Plus, you got Arande going popping off. So, okay, last one I got for you. In the last 4 weeks, Kyle Pitts has more targets than Travis Kelce.
False. That's false.
It is false.
Yes.
No. Saying it's true. Sorry. It is true.
It's true.
Pitts has 30
more targets.
Pitts has more. Pitts has 30. Kelce has 23.
Okay. Kelce has more receptions though. Correct. He's got to have. More receptions.
Well, listen. I didn't ask about receptions. I said.
Okay. I know. I know what you said. All right.
That's how I knew I'd get you. Because yes, Kelce does have significantly more, not significantly, more receptions.
I definitely did not do very good during that game. I think I was 1-5 or something like that. So not a great start for me.
And you got the Herbert rushing yards over Rachaad, which I felt like was kind of like the wild card of the question.
The harder of the two. Yeah. Again, I just watched so many Chargers games, even run so much, and I know White hasn't been super effective, but. Yeah. All right. Fun stuff. Appreciate that. Before we get into the data dump, I just wanted to give out a shout out to me and Alex. I feel like the past 2 or 3 weeks, we've been on an absolute heater victory lapping for us a little bit. We got to take it when we can. We've had some misses, like for sure. I was going back through our stuff. We definitely have had some misses for sure. But collectively, I want to celebrate these wins. We knew the Jaylen Warren running back value is coming. Everybody's now talking about strength of schedule, rest of season. We were on this weeks ago. Joe Flacco, streaming stud quarterback. I saw some crazy data out there that if we were to look at Joe Flacco and what his season projections were, if he were to start with the Bengals when he did, it would have been better than Joe Burrow's last year's season.
So then Burrow's whole season last year? Wow.
Then last year, yeah. So based on how he's doing. Rico Dowdle, running back 1 for the Panthers, right? Like we crushed
Reclaimed it.
Yes, we did. Everybody was real questioning that. We were in on that. Kamara, no upside, poo-poo. Brock Bowers, pop-off game, right? That boom game. Amarion Hampton, yes.
Thank the Lord.
Amarion Hampton's injury is much longer than suspected. Essentially, they said he'll be back after the Week 12 bye, so essentially Week 13. So needs to ramp up. Kareem Hunt, running back 1 for Chiefs last week. And all right, now I'm going to move over the data. I just needed to give us a little, again, I felt like as things have been happening just these past couple of weeks where we've been on it.
We were due. I'm here for it. Sure. It's a fluid league. Things change week to week. So you gotta take the wins when you get them.
All right, jumping into the data dump. This is some data either, might be over the past couple weeks or just focusing on this past week 9. So in week 9, Colston Loveland played 45 of the possible 52 snaps from the moment that Cole Kmet was injured. He then proceeded to have 6 receptions for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns and had his best career game. So
and a crazy game-winning, broken tackle, overtime run. Would have been tight end number 1 in most weeks. It wasn't for Brock Bowers going absolutely insane.
Chase Brown, my boy. He saw 95% of the offensive snaps. I think it was close to 100% of the running back opportunities after Samaje Perine left with an ankle injury. This was the same usage that we saw last year when Chase finished as running back 6 from week 4 on. The Bengals, number 1 rest of season strength of schedule for running backs. They're firing on all cylinders with Joe Flacco behind the helm. And I'm going to say, I think Chase Brown, if the injury is like longer than what we think, potential league winner here. And I'm serious about this. If we see the usage continue.
What was crazy, he had 14 targets in the passing game. Like, that's wild for a running back.
It was a lot of that back and forth the last couple drives for sure. Yeah. In week 9, the gross Devin Singletary outsnapped Tyrone Tracy 55% to 45%. Singletary was mostly in on early down and goal line work, which is not great. Tracy was used third down and passing work. Again, Tracy was dealing with an injury, though. A lot of people probably didn't notice this in the third. This is where Singletary came in. His usage actually spiked during that kind of third quarter, but it honestly looks closer to a 50-50 split than we truly expected. Maybe a hot hand emergence with Dowdle, and he just kind of rides with it, but this wasn't the usage that we were kind of expecting on his team.
It's like, didn't we already have this battle last year? It was Singletary and Tracy last year battling out, and Tracy won. It's like I thought we'd close the book on this,
That makes not a whole lot of sense, but hopefully that cleans up moving forward. Kimani Vidal saw 85% of the snaps in the first 3 quarters. During that time, though, he only saw 2.73 yards per carry. It's like he's night and day, and this is against a Titans defense who is getting gashed on the ground. Fourth quarter, Jarrett Patterson came in and saw 65% of the snaps. So this is just something to monitor moving forward. Again, the trade deadline's happening today. I'm getting notifications on my phone to see if there's anything crazy coming in. But so maybe they trade for a running back based on this situation, or they just continue to ride with Vidal. I don't know.
Yeah, I doubt it. I mean, just knowing Hampton's possibly eventually coming back, it's like you just spend a second rounder on a rookie. Like, I don't see them giving up more draft capital for an RB.
For a running back. Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense, right? You make a playoff push, you get him healthy for that. That's what really matters in that situation. Dalton Kincaid, we talked about him a couple weeks ago. He played 33% of the offensive snaps in week 9, which was number 3 in the tight end room. So there were 2 other tight ends who played more offensive snaps than him. However, he also led the Bills in receiving yards in week 9 with over 100 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Over the past 4 weeks, he is targeted on 41% of the routes that he runs, which is just absolutely insane. He's not on the field very much, but when he is, he's getting targeting. He is a statistical enigma when it comes to fantasy production, especially at the tight end.
A couple weeks ago, I traded away for Tucker Kraft, and I thought I looked like a genius because Kraft had like 20 whatever points last week, and then all of a sudden, ACL gone for the season, and I'm like, God.
Can't predict injuries. I know. But I still think that was a smash. And you ended up getting like Jamar Chase in that deal or something crazy too. So
yeah, it was a package. It was JJ.
Yeah, it was a package. JJ. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I was happy.
Plenty. You got plenty for what you gave up. All right, we're gonna roll over those major talking points. If y'all want to hear something specific next week, like a team to talk about or a player combination or a split, let us know. We're willing to bring it into the show. And so just give us a heads up, and we're happy to bring that in. All right, Alex, start us off. What do we got first?
All right, well, Josh, you already victory lapped us a little bit earlier, but I had to come back for my boy, Monangai, Chicago Bears, my deep sleeper RB before the season. I talked about him possibly carving out a David Montgomery role, similar to what Ben Johnson ran in Detroit. Yes, this was against the Bengals defense, who have given up the most rushing yards per game in the NFL. Yes, DeAndre Swift will possibly be back next week, but let's just take a second to give props to a young man gaining 198 all-purpose yards in an NFL game. That is something very few humans can claim they've done in this world. So next week, Bears play the Giants, who are actually the second worst rush defense in the NFL. So they got Cincy and then Giants back-to-back, 1 and 2. Obviously, if Swift were to miss the game, then Monangai's smash start. But even if he does play, Josh, do you think Monangai and this offense have done enough to make you think they can support 2 fantasy relevant RBs moving forward?
All right, so you shared the Cincy news, you shared about the Giants, but for me, I think it comes down to, like, it's a tough question, but I think it's matchup specific. So I don't think there's like a yes or no to this answer. The Giants next week, I think, could potentially be a great matchup for 2 viable running backs moving forward, right? To see fantasy value. However, looking ahead, they have Minnesota, who is 21st, Steelers, who are 23rd, Philly, who is 11th, Green Bay, who's 27th, the Browns, who are 31st, Green Bay again, who's 27th, and the Niners in the fantasy championship, who are 15th against the run. Of those matchups, I could see maybe 2 of the 8 games that allowed for maybe 2 top 20 running back performances on the same team. Personally, I'd be trying to sell Swift, Monangai right now, or maybe even after the Giants game, as long as Swift's injury isn't serious, right? It's serious. You get a running back 1 in Monangai. We have seen split backfields all year just not be good for anybody in fantasy. The Lions were not the rule. They were the exception to the rule. So I'm not willing to say Swift is as good as Gibbs, and I'm not willing to say Monangai is as good as Monty yet. And the Bears are also not the Lions, who are breaking historical records on offense. Yeah. Moving over to tight end position, Tucker Kraft. Season-end injury, you spoke about it briefly, but Matthew Golden injured his shoulder, Dontavian Wicks injured his calf, and Jaden Reed is still technically out. Alex, are we finally going to see a dominant wide receiver 1 in either Romeo Dobbs or Christian Watson, if there is only 2 healthy wide receivers on this team? Like, does somebody step forward and take that role?
I would say short answer is no. And the long answer is heck no. This is the Packers we were talking about. They are physically incapable of featuring an alpha receiver. I am smashing the over whenever Malik Heath's receiving yards prop bets come out. It has not out yet. I already checked. But he's going to end up with like 45 yards just because this is the Packers and it's what they do. And they're like, we'll give this random guy 45 yards. I do think Luke Musgraves deserves possible tight end streaming consideration for the rest of the season. Tough matchup this week against Philly, though, who are giving up the 3rd fewest points for tight ends. So overall, no, this is the Packers. They're still going to have a very diversified offensive disbursement of receiving yards. But Josh, it's not all about big names going down in fantasy football. Sometimes it's the guys up front, the O-line, who are the bedrock of a functioning NFL offense. The Los Angeles Chargers, unfortunately, they lost their starting left tackle, Rashawn Slater, right as the season began. They moved their standout right tackle, Joe Alt, over to the left side. He's now out for the season. So now being severely depleted with both starting tackles gone, Josh, how do you think this impacts the Chargers offense moving forward?
So first off, I just need to say great question. This is why I follow and listen to the Syndicate. But I think this is a bigger impact on pass catchers, and Joe Alt actually missed a couple weeks this season, week 5, week 6, and week 7. And we have some data on the splits when it comes to Herbert, and this is what it looked like during that time. So when Joe Alt was on the field, Herbert had a 8.6 yard ADOT. He had 2.45 seconds before he was pressured. His time to throw was 2.86 seconds, and 16% of his passes were between 10 and 19 yards. Now, when Joe Alt was not on the field, Herbert's ADOT dropped to 6.9 yards. His time to pressure also dropped to 2.23 seconds, and his time to throw dropped to 2.48 seconds. And his passes between 10 and 19 yards increased to 21% of his overall passes. My takeaway from
those increasing like a good thing, or like is like what like that 10 to 19 range? Like what are we kind of like analyzing there?
Yeah,
so as opposed to what, like it's supposed to like deeper ones or shorter ones.
The actual deep passes didn't change too consistently, but yeah, it was the behind the line of scrimmage, short, and intermediate. So behind the line of scrimmage, short, intermediate, and then deep passes. So I looked at all of those percentages, and the intermediate passes were the ones that increased most significantly, essentially the 10 to 19 yards. And
kind of curious.
The takeaway is because with Joe Alt hurt, Herbert doesn't have the time to like get the ball out as consistently. So he's getting it out a little bit quicker than normal. During that window that Alt was out, this means Lad McConkey, Keenan Allen, Donde Gadsden, they should benefit from this essentially Joe Alt being out. Quentin Johnson is more than likely going to be the odd man out moving forward. Because Herbert just doesn't have time, Johnson won't have the time for plays to develop as a deep ball threat. I would be targeting all three. So this last week I was saying sell Gadsden, right? He's an odd man out. But now because Joe Alt got injured, like these are the three I think to own in that Chargers offense, simply because he's not going to have as much time to throw the ball and he needs to rely on shorter, lower, and intermediate routes.
But sure, they might get more opportunity on like shorter stuff, but like the value on like the depth and whatnot is going to be inhibited. I would imagine. I don't know.
So during that window, they also had, as a team, I think they passed for more yards in that 3-week window that Joe Alt was out. So they were getting like yards after catch and things to that extent. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. They just weren't taking as consistent deep shots, and Quentin Johnson during that window was essentially non-existent for, after week 4, right? We saw the drop-off, like the steep drop-off from him being wide receiver 5 in that first 4 weeks. So
he had a touchdown this week, though, but
he did, and that's why I'm saying, like, this is I feel like a prime opportunity.
Trade him while he's hot. I get it.
Yeah, people aren't thinking about, they're not thinking about that offensive line situation, and they're just saying, oh, he got a touchdown, he's back, he got a deep ball. But, it's going to be tough moving forward. Jakobi Meyers was traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars today. Jakobi was a guy I talked about holding on your roster for this exact reason in our week 7 episode. When the Raiders, they looked like a shell of themselves. Everybody was out on all their players. Travis Hunter is on IR. I actually got a report that it's not necessarily season ending, that he should be back in 3 to 4 weeks. I don't know how accurate that is, but there's been conflicting news on that. BTJ, maybe injured, maybe not. Like, that's still up in the air. Parker Washington is essentially wide receiver 1. But, Alex, what do you make of this situation for Jakobi? You think it's upgrade? What are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, first off, it's going to be a slight increase for all your Raiders playmakers. I mean, Jakobi wasn't commanding a ton of targets, but every little bit helps when you got Geno throwing you the ball. Take what you can get. I like Trey Tucker's value right now. For Jakobi, I'm not going to get too excited. I mean, it's still Trevor Lawrence-led offense. But T-Law has been slightly better than Geno on the season, not by much, but he does have more passing yards, more passing attempts, deeper average depth of target, higher QBR. Now, all these stats are very minimal increases, but increases nonetheless. So I'm happy that he finally got traded. We talked about it for a while. I'm not freaking out or anything, but I think he's, on that wide receiver 3, borderline wide receiver 4, moving forward kind of cusp.
Okay.
Another wide receiver got traded. Rashee Shaheed just got traded to the Seahawks. Josh, do you think this is going to kind of dampen JSN's like insane year he's been having, or maybe help stretch the field and maybe help him bloom even more?
Yeah, so I like when I saw this trade go down, I was so excited to be like, all right, let me dig into this. I think this gives a huge boost to Rashid Shaheed's fantasy stock. It does curb JSN a small bit, but he's still an elite option. I'm not saying that this is not wide receiver 5 still moving forward, like in that range. The reason why it hurts JSN a bit and helps Shaheed a lot is because, one, Sam Darnold in the past, I think it's since week 2, he's averaging 2 touchdowns a game. Again, 1, 4, 3, they're all over the place, but he's slinging the rock right now. Shaheed has played on a Clint Kubiak offense who was on the Saints in 2024. So literally he's going to walk into a situation he is very familiar with.
He started last year.
This is why I really love this for him. This is my favorite part. So Seattle's offense is all about using the run to set up the pass. 38% of their total passing yards this year have come from play action passes. JSN is number 1 in the NFL on play action receiving yards and yards per out run. Shaheed on the Saints was number 6 with 211 yards and number 5 with a 3.91 yards per out run on play action passes. He is literally the perfect wide receiver for Seattle. And now teams won't be able to double JSN or focus him. They'll be able, Shaheed will be able to pull some of those, hopefully. So that still helps JSN. On paper, though, this looks freaking brilliant. If he slots into the wide receiver 2 role on this offense, Sam Darnold gets a boost, Shaheed gets a boost. I think Shaheed is a top 20 wide receiver rest of the season. If he, yes, wow. I am going out and going on a limb. Top 20 wide receiver rest of season. Okay. And I think he has wide receiver 1 upside any given week on this offense. And if anything happens to JSN, like, we're talking, he is a wide receiver 1. Again, wow. It is assuming assuming he becomes a wide receiver 2 on this offense. And I would imagine you give up draft capital to get your guy, you're going to slot him into that wide receiver 2 role. Talking about injuries, Jaden Daniels just went down with a season-ended dislocated elbow. It was gruesome. I'm sure some of you all saw that. It was bad. It reminded me of the RG3 injury a little bit, even though RG3 was to his leg. But the good news was this was to his non-dominant throwing arm. But how do you think this impacts the offense as a whole when we consider Debo, Scary Terry, and Bill? What are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, the coach Dan Quinn's taking a lot of flack over this. I mean, the Commanders were down big and late in the fourth quarter. He actually had a similar thing last year. Daniels got hurt. He ended up not missing the next game, but he was hurt again late in the fourth. Just kind of curious to see if it's something he kind of quickly corrects or, changes in his coaching philosophy. As far as the Commanders playmakers, I mean, Bill is basically dead to me. He just completely disappears whenever the Commanders are trailing. Plus, Mariota's old Mariota is somehow averaging over 5 rushing attempts in his 3 starts this year. As for his passing work, he's been pretty subpar, averaging 192 yards and 1.3 touchdowns per game. Nothing special there. Nothing's going to get you excited. In his 3 starts, Debo has scored below 4 points twice in half PPR. And Scary Terry actually was okay in his 2 games. He went 74 and 54 yards in the 2 he played with Mariota. But with his health concerns, it's just a total offense that I'd probably just look to avoid if I could.
Yeah, Dan Quinn actually came out in a press conference because they asked him. They were like, what was the thought process behind keeping your star quarterback in the game when you all were down and there was a couple of minutes left? And he was like, I don't know. I made a mistake. He actually admitted to he shouldn't have been in there. And in hindsight, I should have pulled him. And a little too late now, but maybe he learns from it moving forward.
Daniel's is pretty small, man. He's got I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm really worried about him. He's got to put on some weight to kind of hang out there for a whole career. We'll see.
2026 top 5 quarterback. Bam, calling it. Bounce back anyway. He'll be a late round value pick. All right, we're going to move over to the buy low, sell high segment. First guy up, I talked about this already, Rashid Shaheed. I'm going out on a limb. I might be burned for this, but trade him. Trade this man. The upside wins championships.
For him.
Shaheed brings
not just trade
upside.
him. Trade for him.
No, trade for him. Yes. Don't trade him away. If you have him, hold on to him tight. If you don't have him, though, I think people are undervaluing him. I love him. I'm high on him. Go out and get this man.
All right, my buy low. I got A.J. Brown. Okay, listen.
Ooh, that's a risky one.
Kind of a risky play. I get it. He had the bad start to the season, and then he just popped off in week 7, 2 touchdowns, 120 yards. Everyone got excited. Then out of nowhere, he just missed week 8 with a hammy, and those things can linger. I get it. Then week 9, we're into a bye, so it's kind of how do we value him? And then I think a lot of that's going to depend on how the other manager is valuing him. Is he kind of holding on to that week 7 pop-off game or like the name brand value that A.J. Brown has? Or can he maybe be had a little bit cheap? If he is available, listen to this end of the season stretch. All right, we got 8 games all the way to week 17, championship week. 8 total games we're looking at. He gets to play Dallas, number 1 in fantasy points to wide receivers. He gets Chicago, number 2. He gets Las Vegas, number 4. He gets Washington, number 5. And he gets Detroit, number 8. 5 of his 8 remaining games are against juicy matchups. If the value's there and the hammy can just kind of hang tight for me for a couple more months here, I think A.J. Brown can feast down the stretch.
Another wide receiver is Garrett Wilson. He has been out a couple weeks, and usually when this happens, owners start to get worried. They lose faith, right? They forget that they have this stud on their team. We just saw Sauce Gardner, Quentin Williams. This is cornerback 1, defensive tackle 1 get traded. They got traded for 3 first-round picks and a second-round pick. I think the Jets have 7 top 2 picks, 6 of which are first in the next 2 years, something insane. Yeah. But they're the core of that Jets defense. And the Jets were already allowing 335 yards a game, which was number 12 in the NFL, and 27 points a game, which was top 5. After a trade like this, I expect him to be projected to not win a single game moving forward. Wilson is obviously the main target guy, but I mean, he's just going to even be more garbage time. Like before it was garbage time, now it's going to be even more. So I think he is being a little bit undervalued than the wide receiver 1 that I think he should be ranked around.
If they go back to benching Justin Fields, I'd be there for you. If you give me some Tyrone Taylor, I'm here for it. I'm into it. Until then, I don't know. But yes, I mean, there's going to be a lot of garbage time, deep, whole second halves of garbage time in New York there. All right, switching over to my sell highs. I do have DJ Moore on one team. I'm thinking about trying to ship him off. He's coming off back-to-back 70-plus yard games and a wide receiver 3 finish this week. He actually threw a touchdown there. So he had a really big pop-off week, but there was extra opportunities because Luther Burden, the rookie, was out with a concussion. Even still, he was out-targeted by Zacchaeus in a game where Rome Odunze weirdly had 0 catches. So, I mean, I think this is just a random pop-off for him. I don't think he's involved in the offense enough for me to really feel that confident in him down the stretch. And if you're ever going to sell someone, you might as well sell him after a week 3 finish. So,
all right, I got a question for you.
Wide receiver 3 finish on the week.
Yeah, monster finish. So, talking about DJ Moore, true or false? He has the same number of rushing touchdowns, passing touchdowns, and receiving touchdowns. The exact same number. True or false?
Well, I know he's got 1 passing, and then because it just happened, he gets 2 rushing attempts a game. So I'm sure he probably has 1 rushing attempt. Does he only have 1 receiving touchdown? I feel like maybe he's got 2. He's been pretty bad this year, so I guess it probably has to be. It probably has to be 1. I'm gonna say he has 1 of all 3.
Yes, that is true. Yes, he only has 1 receiving touchdown, so he has the same number of passing and same number of rushing. Yes, sell DJ Moore, sell this man. If you can get anything, again, go out and get him. Unless you're in a crazy deep league, like we're talking 10, 12 man. I honestly think you could find waiver pickups weekly better than the potential that DJ Moore brings you in that offense. So, and talking about Bears, it's a Bears fire sale. DeAndre Swift. I want out of this split backfield situation. I already shared what the rest of the season strength of schedule is for running backs. I don't want a split backfield going into a terrible running back situation. Swift has lost some value, obviously, because Monangai just did what he did, but I've seen people all over Reddit, all over different places on Twitter still believe in him as an asset, which I get. I mean, he's even in the split backfield the past couple weeks, he's put up running back 10 numbers, but it's just not humanly, statistically possible to continue unless, again, the Bears are the Lions, and I just am not buying that narrative, not after a couple games. So, I'm just not buying that narrative. So, sell DeAndre Swift, go and get something like Jaylen Warren. Like I would easily make that deal, no questions. All right, well, that's all we got for today. If you like what you heard, give us a like and subscribe. If not, we just appreciate y'all being here, hanging out. As always, go steal a championship, and we'll see y'all next time.
Peace.